July 1934, a tent of pain. Daddy has made a tent out of the sheet over Ma, so nothing will touch her skin, or what skin she has left. I can't look at her because it hurts me too much to see what I have done. I can't recognize her. She smells like scorched meat, her body groaning there. It looks nothing like my Ma. It doesn't even have a face. Daddy brings her water. It drips inside the slit of her mouth by squeezing a cloth. She can't open her eyes. She cries out when the baby moves inside of her. Otherwise, she just moans day and night. I wish the dust would plug my ears so that I couldn't hear her. July 1934, drinking. Daddy found the money Ma kept squirreled in the kitchen, under the threshold. It wasn't very much, but it was enough for him to get good and drunk. He went out last night while Ma groaned and begged for water. He drank up the emergency money until it was gone. I tried to help her, but I couldn't aim the dripping cloth into her mouth. I couldn't squeeze. It hurt the blisters on my hands to try. It only made it worse for Ma. She cried for the pain of the water running into her sores. She cried for the water that would not soothe her throat and quench her thirst. And the whole time my father was in Gaiman, drinking. I also hated to notice that when I looked outside, Ma's apples were gone. I couldn't bring myself to tell her. I never had a chance. Ma died that day while giving birth to my brother. August 1934. Blame. My father's sister came to fetch my brother, even as Ma's body cooled. She came to bring my brother back to Lubbock to raise as her own, but my brother died before Aunt Ellis got here. She wouldn't even hold his little body. She barely noticed me. As soon as she found my brother dead, she had a talk with my father. Then she turned around and headed back to Lubbock. The neighbor women came. They wrapped my baby brother in a blanket and placed him in Ma's bandaged arms. We buried them together on the rise that Ma loved, the one she gazed at from the kitchen window, the one that looks out over the dried-up Beaver River. Reverend Bingham led the service. He talked about Ma, but what he said made no sense, and I could tell he didn't really know her. He didn't truly know her. He'd never even heard her play the piano. He asked my father to name my baby brother. My father, hunched over, said nothing. I spoke up in my father's silence. I told the Reverend my brother's name was Franklin, like our president. The woman talked as they scrubbed death from our house. I stayed in my room, silent on the iron bed, listening to their voices. Billy Joe threw the pail, they said. An accident, they said. But under their words, a finger pointed. They didn't talk about my father leaving kerosene by the stove. They didn't say a word about my father drinking himself into a stupor while Ma writhed, begging for water. They only said, Billy Joe threw the pail of kerosene.